We have a piece of news to cover from the pharmaceutical space. Newspaper reports have suggested that Biocon is in talks to sell its API business, but the company tells CNBC-TV18 that there is no truth to the reports of them looking to pair off their API business. To discuss this and more, we have Siddharth Mittal, who is the MD and CEO of Biocon, joining in. Mr. Mittal, thank you very much for taking the time out. You know, the newspaper article indicated that the company is looking to sell off its API business. We've already got a clarification from you, but if you could just comment on the news.
I think we clarified that this is absolutely a baseless rumor and a speculation. The generics, API and formulations business is a very important and integral part of our overall group strategy. And, we are investing heavily in this business, both in creating a very robust pipeline of differentiated molecules and in capacities. So, there's been no strategic intent of divesting this business.
All right. While you have clarified that you aren't, the idea of pairing off the API business is to reduce debt on books. The debt on books for the consolidated entity is around $1 billion. This is after the Viatris acquisition. What then is the plan to reduce debt?
See, the debt is at Biocon Biologics level of $1.5 billion, of which $1.2 billion was taken to fund the acquisition of Viatris business, and there's $300 million of debt which was taken to fund capex for Biocon Biologics. But when you look at the Biocon Limited or the parent company, it does not have any debt. It has cash which is being invested in creating additional capacities, as I mentioned. Plus, Syngene continues again to be cash positive. Now, Biocon Biologics is looking at various options to reduce its debt. Recently, we had announced sale of non-core portfolio of assets to Eris, and that's, of course, going to bring down part of the debt. But like that, we are in discussions also with few private equity players to raise debt directly at Biocon Biologics level. So we should look at the debt reduction at the business level. Of course, Biocon is the holding company for the biosimilars business, but the business is looking at raising funds, either by way of divesting few more non-core assets or by taking on additional private equity funds.
All right. Hi, Siddharth. Morning. By when will you raise private equity funds, though? Give us some details on the timeline and what could the mix be?
I think it will be purely speculative if I talk about the mix and the quantum. I think we are definitely looking at getting the debt levels to an acceptable level till our business, performance starts reflecting a very comfortable debt coverage ratio. And today, in terms of timeline, we don't want to definitely do any of these activities in a rush, which does not give us the best value for what we are trying to do. So I would say that the efforts have been ongoing since last few months, and we definitely expect that these discussions would get over sooner than later. But very difficult to pinpoint specifically when and how much would be the quantum of these activities.
Okay, all right. But what is the outlook on the generics business, Mr. Mittal? Previous quarter, the sales were up around 4% and it was impacted by pricing pressure, phasing out of a key product. And this generics business includes your API business. What can you guide on?
Absolutely. So the generics business includes both API and formulations. Our formulations business is continuing to grow at high double-digit growth rates. Our API business has been under pressure, as you said, that because of pricing pressure, which is being faced by our customers, and also some of the stocking that few of our customers had done, anticipating tenders, which they were not able to secure, and hence they are trying to liquidate that inventory now. But overall, looking forward, the generics business has a huge potential. We are looking at a few differentiated molecule launches in calendar 24, end of calendar 24, early calendar 25. There are a few peptides which has a huge potential, where we are investing a lot in this space. And some of these peptides will be in the market in early part of 25. And I think that would drive a good double-digit, high teens kind of growth for the business. But in the short term, we would continue to face challenges as we have seen in probably the first half of this fiscal.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Mittal, the company has mentioned their interest in GLP-1 inhibitors, which is basically the weight loss drug space. Is that segment that y'all would be interested in when it comes to API supplies?
So, let me first contextualize the opportunity in GLP-1s. Today, GLP-1s are used to treat diabetes as well as weight loss as two very important growth segments. And of course, there are other GLP-1s treating other indications. But today, if you look at various analyst reports, the GLP-1 market is expected to be over $100 billion over the next 8 to 10 years. And this business is directly under our generics business. And we do have both pillars where we are targeting the API business, where we'll be supplying API of these peptides to our B2B customers, as well as we are looking at our direct entry in few select markets. So I think we have announced a couple of collaborations, partnerships for peptides. I think last year we had announced a collaboration with Zentiva for pan-Europe commercialization. Recently, we announced a collaboration with Juno for Canada. And like Juno and Zentiva, there are many other customers in key emerging markets where we are signing up for commercializing these drugs.
Okay, just before we let you go, quickly tell us about Bicara, because the news was it will cease to be an associate company with that $165 million of Series C funding, which it just received. Tell us, what does this mean for Biocon in terms of future investments?
Bicara, of course, was founded by Biocon and was incubated from Biocon. But the idea for Biocon has been to get most of our subsidiaries and key businesses independent, which means doing their own fundraise, looking at its own monetization plan. Monetization can be in any form, and IPO is just one of those options, like we discussed for Biocon Biologics. For Bicara, has had a very successful fundraise thus far. So Series C was a very successful fundraise that we just closed. And with that, Biocon will be roughly 14% in equity stake in Bicara post this Series C round completion. And Bicara would continue to look at funding its need for development of its pipeline, either through additional fundraise or through an IPO, or even the options could be anything. If there are strategic buyers interested in the asset, we can look at that option as well.
Okay, all right, Mr. Mittal, we'll leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us. So that's the word coming in from Biocon, clarifying on reports that no, they're not looking to sell their API business as of now.